How are you?
Good evening and welcome to the special board meeting workshop of the Christian County Board of Education. This meeting is now called to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Munford Brain?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes. Okay, the agenda is approved, and we're going to have a series of presentations. And the first presentation is the student education update with Mrs. Nanette Johnson. Glad you're here tonight, Ms. Johnson. Good to see you.
So good to see you again. So good to see you again. So I'm going to have two presentations for you this evening. We're going to start first with our work together, our partnership during this past year, and the things that we have accomplished. So you have received a report, and the report that you should have received looks somewhat like this. Does everyone have this copy? And then we'll do the strategic plan next. There you go. There you go. So that's what we're going to talk about first. So let's make sure everyone has received that, can find that.
Is it gonna be on the screen?
There it is.
Here we go. Yeah, it's on the screen, sorry.
Okay. That's the report. So I'm going to talk through that just a little bit, and if you would, Karen, I'm going to be using the PowerPoint, so they can reference their copy there while I go through the PowerPoint. And first, I want to thank you for investing in your leaders. It makes a tremendous difference. That's one of the things that we've seen that is even discussed within the strategic plan. You've got to have strong leaders in your schools in order to make the impact on the teachers that are going to make the impact on the students. And you value that, you know that, which is why you've invested in your leaders. So we thank you for that. So if you look at slide 2 here, we had some coaching goals that we worked on this year, and the coaching goals that are on the board here, you see at the top of your report. On the side of the report, you see it's color coded. So we use a color coding system with green meaning that we met the goal. Yellow means that we made great progress, but maybe needed to do a few more things to meet the goal. And red would mean we did not make any movement in the goal. So as you can see, we've got some really good colors on this chart from the goals this year. Our overall focus this year really was to continue that continuous improvement process through evidence-based leadership practices, and to try to get things what we call hardwired, actions and tactics and practices that build positive culture. We want them just to become a habit with all of your leaders within your school. So we've made great headway on that. So as you can see on the goals, the first goal, we were focusing on the scorecard. Your district does a great job on the scorecard. The scorecard helps us to look with intention at just a few goals and to measure our progress on those goals throughout the year. Your district is a model for having not only a district scorecard, but your superintendent and your leaders also have really stressed the school scorecard, because we've got to make sure that everybody is what I call rowing in the same direction, focused on the same goals, working on those same kind of endeavors in order to make good progress. So we've made really good progress on that one. Also within your district, we administer a number of surveys. This year we even administered a couple of more surveys called pulse surveys because of what we were dealing with this year. We wanted to get frequent feedback from our families. And so how many of you have a child here in Christian County Schools? So you received those surveys, and we did that at 30 days, and we did that again at 90 days. That way we could see what are some concerns that we see going in, and how can we address those concerns, and then check again in 90 days to see if our actions have made a difference. So those are the things that we've done on the continuous improvement process. We also did an employee engagement survey and a district services survey at the end of the year here, and I think you're going to be real pleased when you look at the data to see the tremendous growth that we've experienced. This year we also did some work. You'll see that third bullet is we did some work with new and developing leaders. So your leaders, we've been working together for about 4 years now. And your leaders that have been doing this work understand it and are beginning to make it habit. But your new leaders don't understand some of the tactics that they can use in order to build the culture. So we worked virtually, individually with those leaders to help them to learn those tactics, and that was very successful. The last 2 bullets were basically trying to deal with the circumstances at hand with COVID and what it was doing within our community. Basically looking at the ever-changing circumstances with it, and also looking at how did we communicate. And I would say, I guess if you ask Mr. Benzel, that's probably what we stressed the most this year. What's the message? How do you get the message out there? How do we make sure everybody's getting it at the right time in the right way? We worked really hard on that, and that's some of the largest growth that we've seen on the feedback from the surveys is the turnaround in communication. Not just what the message is, but how you delivered it. So very proud of that work. So if you go to the next slide, Karen, you will see there are several things that we did this year as well, as far as the content that we worked on, and again working with the new leaders. But something that was also very beneficial was what we called one-on-one coaching calls. So I did a call one-on-one with each principal in this district after they received their data in December from the 90-day survey, and talked with them about what their data said and what actions they could take as a leader to help turn that around. That was very, very helpful to them as well. So if you look at the results from our survey, this is the employee engagement survey that we administered to every single employee, certified and classified staff this year. They're asked 10 questions that are directly related to their leader in their building or in their department, and then some questions about that they're asking about their superintendent, and then some questions about communication. And I want you to take a look at the last 2 columns. So in the fall of 2019, out of a possible 5.0 possible perfect score, your district scored a 3.98. This year, the growth in your district was up to a 4.25. Tremendous growth this year. Another point that we look at is what you see there that says the top box percentage. The top box means that people marked the highest score that they could on those questions. So 38% in 2019 marked what we would call very good, which would be the top score. This year you had a 10% growth. 48% have marked the top score. That's what we call the loyalty factor. The people that mark that top box score are the people that stand behind your district and are going to defend your district in the Walmart line. If somebody's saying something that isn't in favor of the district, they'll speak up on behalf of the district. Excellent growth, excellent scores. And what I noticed too on the data is the highest marks were in the area of communication. So if you look at the next one, this particular piece of data, this is where your principals and assistant principals and some of your folks within your schools are giving feedback to the district office departments on the kind of service they receive. What kind of service do they receive from transportation, from child nutrition, from your maintenance, from your instruction department? All of your departments that go out and serve the schools. And so if you look in the fall of 2019, you had a 4.0. So if you look down through there, you see 5 areas that they're asking questions. When they call this department, are they accessible? In other words, does somebody pick up the phone? When they ask for something, are they accurate in what they receive? What is the attitude of those people answering the phone? Do they act like they want to be helpful? Operations is how organized are they in their processes? And timeliness means how quickly do they turn around that request? So if you look at the growth from 2019 to 2021 is tremendous growth, tremendous growth, from a 4.0 to a 4.38. Extremely proud. So the philosophy in this district office is service first, customer service. If we serve our schools well, they'll serve their children and families well. So they are modeling the way for others. So very proud of that. So next slide, Karen. So based on this, I would recommend for 2021, you'll want to really continue to work with the scorecard. Your district does a nice job of doing that, but now more than ever before, with you launching a new strategic plan, that's how you're going to guarantee that in 5 years you're going to meet what that plan is mapping out for you based upon the 1-year scorecard each year to plan out those goals. What we did this year is every month I'll call the executive team. We have a phone call every month, and then I will call Jessica separately, and we talk about, one of the things I ask them every month is, what are our priorities in the next 30 days? So when I call you next month, what are the actions that you're going to take between now and my next phone call? And when I would call them the next month, I'd say, now let's pull up those actions and see if you did it. That's what kept us moving toward that goal. It helps us to pace the work. I would recommend that continuing. Administer 4 surveys. So next year you'll want to continue your employee engagement survey. Ask your employees what we can do to support them. Your district services survey on how you're serving your schools. You want to ask your parents, what can we do to be better with you and your child in communication and service. And you want to ask your students, what can we do to better serve you in a better way? That's how we get the most valuable feedback on the actions and the measures that matter. We want to recommend that you hardwire the rollout process when you get your survey data, that you share the data with the people that took the survey and ask for their ideas on how we can be better. And again, continuing to hardwire those actions that make leaders be the leaders that people want to work for. What we share is when people leave, they usually leave their boss. So we want to make sure that they want to be with their leaders and that the leaders are moving them in the right direction. So we will coach them toward that. Are there any questions on the 2021 report?
That top list, you had some different numbers of people participated in that. Is that participation mandated or not?
It's not mandated, but it's really strongly encouraged. It did drop a little bit this year, and the reason we concluded we think it dropped because they've been surveyed a lot. Typically, we would do this one survey at the end of the year, but we surveyed our staff 3 times this year. So by the time we got to the end of the year, they were probably thinking, again? So they did, we had a good number that took it, but we did have a little drop.
So one year was like 70-something and went down to 30. It's kind of up and down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And actually, when we notice that kind of a drop, that's one of the goals we always recommend setting on the scorecard. Is not just what the score would be, but to increase the participation, because we want to hear their thoughts. That's how we get better.
Ms. Johnston, you all collect data and then you analyze it, and then you make recommendations to the leadership team.
That's correct. Well, what we do is we analyze the data and talk with them about it, and then we work with them to go back to their staff and say, this is what you said. Give me some more specific actions I could take as a leader that's going to make the biggest difference for you. Because I'm going to work hard. I want to work hard on the right things. So we coach those leaders on how to roll that out with their staff and get their staff to give them feedback to develop an action plan to improve.
And you feel like you're getting good response from this leadership team that we presently have? I'm put you on the spot, I guess.
Yes, I absolutely do. I think it's one thing to give your opinion about the strength of leadership, and it's another to have data that you compare across the nation. with other districts this size, with other high schools, middle schools, elementary, so they have national percentiles. They can say, how do I compare as a leader with somebody in Wisconsin, in California, in Oregon, because we serve districts all over the nation.
I worked for a government agency and retired from it and took probably 100 surveys over 30-some years. Nothing ever changed. They did pay me to take the survey, but nothing ever changed as far as management.
Right, and a lot of times, and I know I've taken surveys a lot of times, and I don't even know what the results were, because it's never been shared. And what we share with them is, if you want people to take a survey, they've got to know what the results said, and they have to have input on the next steps, actions to make it better. And that's why you see the numbers going up, because the actions that they've been given, they're doing, and people are noticing the difference that it makes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think the redundancy, given a COVID environment and the turnover, continuing to stay on task with our new vision and mission statement, having that intertwined with our best practices in our buildings, is getting these results.
Very good.
So we're going to stay on a community committed to phenomenal schools and empower all students in reaching the fullest potential. And we stay focused on that, even with turnover, even with pandemics. We're going to knock it out of the park. So we
That's right.
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank your leaders, because, if they don't take the action, it's not going to make the impact. And so the numbers don't lie.
Oh.
And they tell the story of what I would say is a district, a leadership team that will not settle for mediocre.
So when you coming back?
Do what? When am I?
When you coming back?
It's a great question. I'd like to know that too.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, I see you blushing a little bit.
I am stepping back from student education. I will say, 6 grandchildren are knocking at my door. So I am stepping back. I still work with new superintendent for KASA. I'm still doing all of that, but I'm taking a drastic step back from this work. So I will say it has been just a joy to work with this district and these leaders and this team. I feel like I've got a lot in common, because the district where I was superintendent also joined a military base. So many of the same things that you are trying to work through and bring unity and community together, we experienced as well. So have a soft spot in my heart for that, absolutely, as well. So.
Anything else from board members? Hope you have a great retirement, and thank you for the work you've done here. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. So I'm gonna shift to the strategic planning work. That was really, the strategic planning work this year was really a big rock. It is a heavy lift for a district, but your superintendent, when he started with, as a new superintendent, I was actually he probably got tired of me, because I was working with him as a new superintendent with the work I do with KASA, and then with this work too, so I was kind of double teaming him. So when he started, he talked about wanting to do a strategic plan, that we really wanted to do that, and I said, let's work it slowly and start it in the spring. And I just think it's been a great process, because the district really started with this leadership, and with the leadership of Jessica Addison. That's just, I can't say enough about her work throughout this process. Started in the fall with the mission and the vision work, and that's where you need to start, to really make sure everybody's on the same page on where you want to go with the district. And then the strategic plan is what helps you to get there. That's what makes your mission and your vision come alive. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you tonight what 866 people in your community have said what they want to see in this school district. So if you look at the beginning, at the mission statement, really, that's the purpose, as I said, of your strategic plan, is using this strategic plan to make that mission statement come alive. So the strategic, what you will see as I go through this plan tonight, is you're going to see the themes that have emerged. And you're going to see this mission language woven throughout all of those themes. So what you have this evening, and let me just share with you how this booklet is laid out. This is your strategic planning process that you have received. At the beginning is just a report that just talks you through the process. I'm going to talk you through that tonight. What I'd like for you to do is turn to the section that says Appendix 1. If you will turn in your booklet to Appendix 1. And it says District Strategic Plan Scorecard Goals. And that's what I'm going to be walking you through, helping you to see how this plan is laid out for you and for your district. Make sure everybody's, there you go. All right, Karen, if you would flip to the next slide. So in the spring of 2021, January the 26th to be exact, because many of you were there, we started the process of listening to the hopes and the dreams of the people in this community. These are the different stakeholder groups that are listed on that slide that we worked with. Okay, if you go to the next slide, Karen. So within this process, your community identified strengths, and that's what you see on this slide, are the strengths that emerged from the focus groups that met. They also shared opportunities for improvement. We listened to their thoughts and their ideas. They shared with us what they want to see students know and be able to do when they graduate from from Hopkinsville and from Christian County School District. We conducted surveys after we met with over 400 people in focus groups, both virtually and in person. And then we did a survey to ask people that didn't get to participate for their feedback, and there were over 466 students, parents, and community members that participated in the survey. We analyzed all of that to see the input and see what themes would emerge. Next slide. So as you look at this page on your strategic plan, you see some colored blocks at the top. There are 5 pillar areas that emerged from this process: student achievement, high-quality employees, people and community, resources and facilities, and operational efficiency. If you look in the colored blocks, underneath the pillar title, you will see commitments. You will see the commitments that are listed is the exact language that is woven from your mission statement, broken into these 5 pillars. That's how we're going to make the mission statement come alive, through these 5 pillars. Okay, next slide. As you look at the way this plan is put together, under each pillar, let's start with student achievement, for example. If you look under that student achievement pillar, you will see 4 different, what we call chunked areas. These were the areas that were that had the most feedback in these themed areas. The first one was, and it's in bold print on your plan, you see reading and math proficiency. You'll see several bullets under that that I'll talk about in just a moment. Then you see college and career ready. Then you see another group called equitable, high quality core instruction for all. Then you see social and emotional learning and mental health. Under each one of those areas, you see different bullets. that takes it down even a step deeper into, if that's the area, what are some goals we want to accomplish under reading and math proficiency? What are goals we want to accomplish under college and career ready? So that shows you how we've taken it to a little deeper level. And all of the language in this plan is from the 866 people that shared their ideas when they were asked these questions of what could we do to be better. That's where this language came from. If you look in the next area, if you go to the next slide is on high-quality employees. So this blue section is laid out exactly in the same way as the student achievement section. Starting with the big chunks, first we want to, if we're going to have high-quality employees, we've got to recruit, hire, engage, and retain a quality and a diverse staff. Underneath that, you see some different bullets of ways we want to do that. Next, you see, if we want to keep our high-quality employees, we've got to have a competitive salary and benefits for our certified and classified staff. Under that section, you'll see some examples of ideas people had for how we can make that happen. The third bullet, we need to value and respect our employees. You see under that section the bullets of ideas generated on how that can happen. And finally, we want to grow our own. We want to grow or have our own system to grow our teacher leaders and our staff. And you see some ideas on how we can make that happen. The next section you will see on parents and community. That's the yellow pillar. And again, the three major bullet areas that have ideas under each. Parent education to support student learning. Some really good examples coming from that. Early childhood learning. And partnerships with our community, our government, our business, and our military. The fourth area, you see resources and facilities, ironically, in green. I thought that would probably help us to remember for money. So resources and facilities. There are three big rocks under this one. We heard a lot of comments about facilities, specifically about high school facilities. So we looked at noting that within the plan. There's a section and bullets on that. There was a lot of comments about instructional resources and infrastructure and making sure that we know what we have and we maximize that. We've put some bullets along that line to address the comments that came from there. And then school safety is always a priority in every school district. So we wanted to make sure and address that, and there were ideas that were generated, again, that are noted with the bullets stated in this plan. And the final section is on operational efficiency. For a district to continue on the path of continuous improvement, you want to look at how you can become more efficient with your time and with your resources through process improvement. So based on the stakeholder feedback from the people that participated in the strategic planning process, there were three big areas that emerged. But we'll challenge the district to not stop there when it comes to operational efficiency. We ask for our district and our schools to always be looking at ways to improve processes. The three that were marked were communication, human and material resources, in other words, how do we manage the people that we have and how do we make sure we don't have duplication? And on energy efficiency, Because we know that if we're really smart with the way we use our energy in our schools, we can save money that can be redirected back to teaching and learning. Those are the pillars that we that emerged from this process and all of the ideas and comments. So, Karen, if you go to the next slide, there are a few things I want you to, I also want to point out. At the very end of this report, you will see the survey ideas that emerged. And so I want to show you where the customer voice is within this process. So in this survey analysis, you see sections that are highlighted. This is in Appendix 3. You see these highlighted sections in Appendix 3, some of the comments. And you see in red where those comments were added in the strategic plan. So, for example, after this plan was built and we put the survey out, these were additional things that were mentioned that we didn't see mentioned from the other 400 people that participated in focus groups. So what I did, if you'll go now one appendix over, you're going to see Appendix 2, and I call this really getting in the weeds, but this is the working copy that your leaders will use on Appendix 2. And so what I have done is I have in red all of the additional comments that were added to the plan from the survey comments. So you can see in this plan what was added from your steering committee when they met. You can see what was added from the survey feedback that we received from the community, the 466 people. Also on this working draft, you'll see a column that I call Deeper Action Development Ideas. There were some phenomenal ideas that were generated from the survey and from the feedback from these focus groups, and we didn't want to lose those ideas. Those ideas are plotted in that deeper action column beside the goals on this strategic plan, so that as we're building out the yearly scorecard, the staff has a place to go where these ideas were captured from the people that generated those throughout this process. So we've tried to make sure everything was in there. And then the last column, you will see, how are we going to know? The most important question is, how are we going to know if we're making improvement in progress? How are we going to measure it? And we have plotted out different measures that would be used and data that would be used to let us know if we're on track to make progress. So the things to remember here is that we are proud that we had input from 866 people that represented your community of Christian County, that gave us the input to create this plan. The plan encompasses the hopes and the dreams for the students in this community, and it is a blueprint for your work for the next 3 to 5 years. Those 5 key areas are the areas of focus: student achievement, high-quality employees, our parents and community, our resources and facilities, and our operational efficiency. And a yearly scorecard is what's going to drive this work through measurable outcomes. And the key is transparent communication. The scorecard becomes your accountability piece to you as a board and to your stakeholders as a community. Questions?
Any questions from the board?
And I'd like to also, if I could, call Jessica Addison up as you're thinking of some questions. She was the boots on the ground person. We were on the phone or texting all of the time. And so between Jessica and Jonna, her administrative assistant, that took all of these notes and put them together, and then they would send them to me. In a COVID world, I think we have a great plan with a lot of input, but it wouldn't have happened if you didn't have a phenomenal staff to make it happen at this end too. So Jessica, I'm gonna let you
Ms.
share
Johnston,
some.
I do have one question.
Yes.
How did we, and you might have gone over it, but, I might have daydreamed or something, but how did we come up with our respondents on this, 866? How did we solicit those respondents?
First, we scheduled focus groups for all of the schools. Make sure you had certified and classified staff. For your parents, there were student focus groups, community focus groups, and there were over 400 people that participated in those groups. After we collected all of that input, then we threw out another net, and we sent a survey out to the community and posted it, and there were an additional 466 people that participated in the survey. So that's where we came up with the 866 total.
Some of those were in person, some were on Zoom, some were grandmoms with the kids on their lap.
That's right.
And it was pretty good. I think we tried to reach out to the military.
We did. Jessica, you want to?
Yeah, and I would also clarify, for those focus groups, those were open to anyone who wanted to join in. So we didn't handpick certain people. They were advertised on the website, on our Facebook page. I went to every school until it snowed, and then we backed up and did those virtually the week that it snowed. We had several scheduled that week, and so I did several of those focus groups virtually. We have some work to do to reconnect and bolster our military support connection there, and that's in the plan as well. So we had some conversations, but not a real widespread engagement there from our military community, so we definitely want to include that in our strategic plan. That's why you'll see that there. But it was exciting to see how excited people were about those focus group conversations. And the number of people that joined in for those. Those were open invites to those people that chose to join in.
And we talked along the way about how important it is to use the language of the voice of the people. There are some, and I took the exact language. I said, you see, I'm taking the exact script that you've sent me, and that's exactly what's in the goal. It's the people's plan, and they had some great ideas.
The only other thing that I would add to what Nanette said, I think she did a great job summing it up. 3 words come to mind when I think about this plan and as she was presenting them: hope, trust, and responsibility. Listening to those focus groups was a joy this year, to hear from people in our schools and also in our community. There's a lot of hope for the future of Christian County Public Schools and for our students. There was a lot of hope, and you could hear that in the ideas that they shared, because people without hope don't have good ideas. But they had a lot of great ideas and a lot of hope and optimism for the future. They have a lot of trust, and they're placing that trust in us as the leaders of this district to make those things come to life, to make them happen. And then that's the responsibility part. You know, we have a great responsibility to take this now and use it and make it something that we hold to, that we develop our yearly scorecard around, like Ms. Johnston mentioned, that we have a responsibility to make sure that as we're developing those yearly action plans, that we're making sure that it's accomplishing the work that our community asked us to accomplish over 5 years. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. We're already kind of tiptoeing into some of these things, because when it's good work to do, you want to go ahead and get going. But we're excited to see it officially approved, and we can get it out there and communicate it to the public and let them know this is the work that we're going to accomplish for our community and for our students in the next 5 years.
Other questions? So let me tell you what's next. If you would turn to the next page, Karen, on the PowerPoint. So this is your first read tonight. This is not a time for you to approve. It's for you to, I wanted to make sure you knew how the plan was laid out And that way, if you, as you're reading it the next couple of weeks, if you do have questions or something that you have concerns about or you need to see done a little differently, I'm going to have you contact Jessica. She'll be in contact with me, and we can make any adjustments that are needed before your next board meeting, which is June the 17th. At that board meeting, we would ask for you to approve the strategic plan for this school district so that they can get to work. From that point, in July, your school, if not before, you're gonna have to hold them back because they're anxious to get going on it. They're going to be setting their district and school scorecards based off of this blueprint. The strategic plan will then be shared with your staff and the community from July to September as you launch it. And I think Superintendent Bensel's already even got some folks knocking at the door wanting him to come and present about this strategic plan. Yeah, tomorrow. Interestingly enough, I received a copy of the strategic plan for the Chamber of Commerce. And so what I did as we were putting this plan together, I had the goals in front of me to see what did they see as important for the education of the students in this community, and to see, I mean, financial literacy was one of the big rocks for them, and that's all over this as far as what your folks said as well. So it was really, really interesting to see that intersect as well. Yeah, that's right. There was a focus group with the chamber folks as well. So that was very helpful. Other questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, Ms. Johnson. I appreciate the guidance this year you gave myself personally and as the leadership team. We started out the gate wanting to get that mission vision done right away. I set a goal for August. I had to slow down a little bit.
Let's get it back. Let's get it
Yeah,
back.
slow down a little bit, and we did, and we made it more intentional, and it just fell into place with the strategic plan.
Yep.
And your work was instrumental in all this, and I appreciate what Ms. Addison did in kind of carrying that in the district, and I think it's really a good, solid plan. I'm excited to move forward with it, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You all have a very bright future. You're heading in the right direction, and your data shows it. So congratulations to you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, the last presentation for this evening will be by Mrs. Jessica Addison, the Learning Recovery Update.
Good evening, Board Chair, Superintendent Bensel, board members, Mr. Lackey. I'm going to keep my presentation fairly brief. You've had several of these from me at this point, but we do want to keep you updated on where we are in our learning recovery efforts. I look forward to the date when we don't have to have this on the agenda, but for now we will continue to keep it at the forefront and monitor it very closely. As you all probably remember, our Summer Learning Institute is really the next big phase of our learning recovery process, and we are excited to kick that off next Monday. We are very excited to get that going. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes, a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, but all that is necessary to do the work that these students have asked of us for this summer. So as it stands right now, we have 1,996 students who will be attending Summer Learning Institute starting Monday morning. 1,996. That's correct. And I suspect if Miss Kim or Miss Campbell at one of our high schools has anything to do with it, that number will be right at 2,000 because they're still working on tracking down a few of those high schoolers that need some credits. They can get their hands on them and get them talked into it. I suspect we'll be over 2,000 by Monday morning. We'll wait and see on that. So we're excited about that. I do want to say a special thank you and appreciation to all the staff, certified and classified, that has stepped up to make this happen. Because as you might imagine, folks are ready for a break this summer, and many of them have forfeited that in order to work Summer Learning Institute. And so we're just really, really appreciative of the people in this district that have stepped up, not only this year, but also this summer for those additional days. We are paying them for that, but sometimes there's not a dollar worth, just a few days off and a little bit of rest and relaxation. So we say thank you to those folks. Just as a reminder, our middle and high school SLI runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and our elementary students will be attending from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Breakfast and lunch served every day. And that's kind of where we are right now for Summer Learning Institute. So hopefully, all fingers crossed, buses roll out first thing Monday morning, start picking up those kids and get them safely to the school and safely back again. But we're looking forward to that. Just as a reminder as well, some of the things students are going to get to do this summer in Summer Learning Institute are a little bit non-traditional. They're getting to think beyond those classroom walls and think beyond the pacing guide and the standard curriculum. And so our teachers are really excited about some of the experiences they have planned for kids, the enrichment activities. We have ACT boot camp happening at the high school for students who might not need any credit recovery, but they just want a chance to work on an improved ACT score this summer. And so they're dedicating some of their summertime to do that, and we're excited about that as well. So we look forward to those students showing up and participating with us. Along with that, I just want to give you a follow-up to the supplemental school year conversation that you all had last time. Per your request, or per your approval, those 46 students whose parents requested summer supplemental school year, we sent communication to them with the expectation that you put forth at the last meeting that they would attend at least 75% of Summer Learning Institute. That was communicated. At this point, 30 of the 46 are registered for Summer Learning Institute. So that would qualify them to continue down the supplemental school year path. We're also planning to contact those last 16 tomorrow, one last effort, like one last try, have that one last phone conversation to say, we notice you're not registered yet. It starts on Monday. And so hopefully we'll catch a few more of those that might have just, forgotten that they needed to take care of that. So we're going to contact those 16 tomorrow. And we will keep you posted on that as well. So that's our update for Summer Learning Institute Learning Recovery. And then I also want to just remind you that as we're kicking that off, we're thinking about phase 3, which is that long-term intervention plan, because we know that no matter what we attempt to do this summer, there's going to be long-term impact of the school year that we've had and even the previous school year that was cut short. So schools are currently hiring those interventionists that we've mentioned to you before. Each school was afforded an additional interventionist using the stimulus money. And so schools are hiring those now. And we are planning, at the district level, we're planning for our district intervention workshop. Ms. Stevenson and I are working together, and our departments are working together very closely to plan the intervention workshop this July 15th and 16th. Every school will send their intervention team to that workshop, and what we want them to have is a day one plan. So first day of school, August 11th, they have a plan for who needs those interventions when they walk in the door, what are those interventions going to look like for each of those students, and a support plan in place ready to get that going so we don't waste any time starting in the next school year. So that's our learning recovery update for this evening. I promised you I'd try to keep it brief. If you have any questions, I'll attempt to answer them, or I'll find your information and get it back to you. Yes, sir.
The young people that are taking the ACT prep, when will be their next opportunity to take the ACT?
I don't have the date. There is one in July, and
That's good. I know when I studied, I wanted to put it out there right then.
it is July. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but it's July, and we're going to encourage them to register while they're at SLI, and we'll help them get registered for that.
If there's a
as well.
financial hindrance,
We will help them with that.
We have a plan for that.
Yes. So we're really excited about those. I mean, that's a great opportunity for a kid to have that kind of ACT prep. That didn't really even exist when I was in
Right.
school.
Age limit on that, could I go back?
Well, registration for Summer Learning Institute enrichment is closed.
Surely Noah helped you.
I scored a 36.
Well, I
I
mean,
took it 3 times.
I can tell.
It's 13.
13 plus 13 plus 13. That's 39, Mr. Moore. I'm just saying. Okay, Ken. Okay.
Next agenda.
I think you need to be quiet.
What'd she say that was 39? Is that what
Yeah,
she said?
he said 13. I thought he said 13 plus 13 plus 13. I misheard.
That's 39.
yes. Okay.
All right. Any other
Wow.
serious questions?
Okay. and everybody knows when the bus is gonna show up and all that, everybody.
Yes, and we've got folks on standby. There's been a lot of communication from the school points of contact to the family members to let them know when the bus is coming.
I've been asked a question, I thought this was the end. Food service starts Monday, that's for all schools, and that's when they could do the summer food service as well, is that correct?
Yes, they are feeding starting Monday
In schools or for?
in schools, and pickup, I don't have her pickup schedule
We need to get
memorized.
that on. I
Okay,
was asked that question today. I know we're feeding in school, but I didn't know about pickup for non-SLI.
okay.
You know,
Yeah,
we usually
can
do
get-
that as well,
mhm.
yeah.
And
I'll get
she sent something,
Mr.
but I
Hunt,
don't
we'll
have
make
that
We'll make a note of that
memorized.
and get back to Ms. Holt about that. We gotta put that on
Sure.
Facebook.
Okay,
Excellent.
great.
All right. And I would just say, for those out there maybe listening, watching in, if there are any hangups with transportation, it's a different route than typical. So I know Mr. Brumley and them have worked tirelessly on that schedule. We've had some late additions to that, and he's still worked those out. So if something happens Monday morning, we're gonna get it fixed and get them there as fast as we can, and
Pretty excited to have all campuses in the district open next week. to
Absolutely.
Support our kids and.
One
Yeah.
serious question, what about buses? I mean, what percentage of our fleet is going to be probably used?
I think at the last, I think it was around 20-something buses. So that's one of the reasons
Probably
we're
about-
having to do the staggered start time.
25%.
I was gonna say,
We run 101 routes, so 25 buses. I think about.
the issue was drivers, making sure we had enough drivers. So again, people stepped up to the plate. I know one person on my team, she's driving a bus and teaching Summer Learning Institute all 16 days. So we're appreciative of those folks that show up day after day and do that work, so. All right. Okay.
Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the discussion approval of the bid for the 2021-2022 student accident insurance. Ms. Laura Morris, with that presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Board Chair, board members, Mr. Bensel, and Mr. Lackey. I feel like I should be giving a report on back to school, but I'm doing something a little bit different tonight with the student accident insurance bids. We received bids on May the 12th, 2021. Based on the RFP requirements, we had bids from Roberts Insurance and Investment Company, and they did supply us with 4 different bids for 4 different plans. And Karen, if you would move up the slide. In the past, our insurance student accident has been with Roberts last year, and we were on Plan 4.5. And Ms. Mumford-Brame, I believe at the last board meeting, you asked me what that rate was last year, and it was right at $150,000. As you can see, we have 4 plan offerings tonight: Plan 3, Plan 4, 4.5, and Plan 5. What we did when we received the bids, we looked at the bid chart very closely, and Karen, if you will scroll down, you'll see the chart we actually received. As I said, last year we were with Plan 4.5, but we had several people go through each one of the plan offerings to see exactly what was offered and what best met the needs of our students. Those persons were Mr. Hunt, Coach Stovall, Nurse Kidd, and myself. The recommendation we have after looking at the different plans is to change plans this year and move from Plan 4.5 to Plan 4. And we have Mr. John Roberts here tonight from Roberts Insurance. If you have any questions about the different plan offerings and what is offered in each plan. Does anyone have any questions for us?
It looks like Plan 4 has more coverage for a more severe incident.
Mr. Bell, I agree with you. The major areas where we would see a change between the 4.5 and 4, we work with 150 schools in Kentucky, so we work with all these different plan designs. What we would see the biggest help on is emergency room services physical, non-surgical, or physician non-surgical services, where currently you're at a $300 max, $100 max. The surgical services, 2,500. All of those go up to the 100%. So to me, those three categories are the biggest areas, and it goes to 100% on several other line items, but seeing you all average about 65 claims per year, seeing where those claims are coming from and what we're dealing with from your school district, those are the three areas that would benefit your parents, your student athletes, all your students the most.
Are you seeing a reduction in premiums because of, I see where the Plan 4.5 is less than what it was last year because I guess students aren't in school as much?
It was the craziest thing. We actually saw more claims in the fall in football this year than what we've seen in the previous 2 years. And I think it's from athletes are creatures of habit. And there was a long layoff, a break in what they're conditioned to usually do. So we saw more soft tissue claims than what we ever saw. Now, what we've seen that's generated the decrease is from where on student accident insurance, we're limited as far as loss control, what we can do. Kids are going to get hurt. ACL tears, they happen. So what we can do is negotiate with providers, make sure that when one of your all students get hurt, you all are getting the best rate possible, and change plan designs. So when we change your plan to a 4.5, the coverage is less, the claims have come down, which in turn has generated a reduction in premium the past couple of years.
Usually don't see premiums going down.
What do most schools go with? Which plan?
So I would say 75% of them do the Plan 3, which is 100% of everything other than physical therapy, which is capped at 1,000. So where we transition to the 4 to the 4.5 is when claims are continuing to go up, it becomes costly to the school district, and we need to reduce the losses, and this is our avenue to do that. Most of our schools are on Plan 3. Everybody else is on a Plan 4, and a handful are on the Plan 5. And the rest, the 4.5 it's a great plan. I mean, the fact that you have the 4.5 is great. The 4 provides more coverage, and the 3 you don't have to worry about anything other than a PT, which is capped at 1,000. But you can see the cost difference between the 3 and the 4 is substantially more. And the 4 is still providing 100% of so many exposures.
Would this pay in addition to their personal health insurance? Would this be
Great question.
first or second?
So it's second. If in the
Okay.
event there's no primary, we become primary. And we also fill up deductibles and copays. So if a parent were to have a $5,000 deductible on their health insurance, we can step in and fill that gap as well.
Council, have we had any implications of this year's policy?
I don't think so. I mean, we have, the claims, a lot of the claims I don't think ever actually get made. I do think there's more often, I think that occurs less right now because I think there are more high deductible health insurance plans today than there were 5 years ago. So you end up, Mike's question, we become primary in more situations than we did a few years ago. There's a lot of employer plans have much higher deductibles than they did 4 to 5 years ago. This doesn't, I think that this insurance, when we have a liability incident, I do think that having this insurance makes negotiating those liability situations a little easier because the folks you're negotiating with don't have outstanding medical claims that they're getting frustrated that they haven't been taken care of. So that's, but, you know, in terms of it affecting anything from a legal standpoint, it really doesn't. Other than that last possible point is that we end up, you end up dealing with parents that are less disgruntled than they would be if there had not been coverage for the medical itself, so.
How much did we pay for Plan 4.5 last year?
50.
150?
150.
So the plan that y'all are recommending is $22,000 higher? Is that in the budget?
But it's 43,000, or 33,000 higher than 4.5. Mr. Moore? What do you think? 33. What do you think?
I just think that for the student or two that doesn't have health coverage, the Plan 4 would really help in that situation. You know, most people have health insurance now because of the Affordable Health Care Act, but a lot of them get the super deductible. But there are still some students out there that are running around tracks and kicking balls and they don't have insurance, you know?
I know our employees' plans at our office are not near as good as they were 5 years ago because of the cost. You know, it's much, you know, we've got a $5,000 deductible and a $50,000 copay, 50% copay, so.
We didn't have many issues last year, but hopefully we're gonna have more kids running around tracks and on fields and things this year too.
And this coverage does cover all of our students K through 12, so it covers our playground accidents as well as our high school athletics, so that's something to consider as well.
And when we do look at your claims, 70% of them are from athletic, but 30% of them are recess, PE,
Right.
hallway claims. So we still see, the fact that you cover all students, we still see 30% of your claims coming from that area.
Even though it is 33,000 more, I mean, thinking long-term, and God forbid something happens to multiple kids, but I think 33,000 is nothing compared to what we could be out of pocket if it was more kids, you know, because if we're going down with coverage and God forbid something catastrophic happens, you know, not just a broken leg or something like that, something traumatic, if this happens multiple times, we could be essentially paying more than 33,000 to take care of that, right?
Well, in most of those situations where there's something catastrophic, your liability insurance kicks in too. And so if there's a fault, if there's a fault at all on the part of a employee or the district, or if there's some attributable negligence, but most of the time that we've had really catastrophic claims, the primary insurance that is paid has been liability coverage. And there's what's the max?
Our coverage goes up to $7.5 million. And
Okay.
with the general liability, you'd have to be deemed negligent.
That's right.
And student accident, it's not the way we pay.
Well, that's not the way they pay.
Yes.
But in terms of historically speaking, our really large claims have been liability paid claims.
What plan you recommend that would protect us better?
Plan 4, if it's.
I was asking him.
Oh, sorry.
Well, you know, the truth is, none of these plans really protect the district.
I said the best.
I said,
Yeah.
none of these plans really protect the district itself.
That's not the answer I'm looking for.
The,
It's A, B,
you
C,
know,
or D.
well, I'll say A, and then you figure out what that is. No,
You did your job.
the,
I asked, and he answered.
no, I think, I think that, I just don't know that there's an answer to that, because
Okay.
this is for kids and not necessarily for the district. There's a benefit to the district by helping kids. And so, to monetize it, if we were talking about cutting liability coverage, I'd be very concerned.
Okay.
But in terms of this, I do think most districts go with higher than a 4.5 plan. I do think that's, and I don't know when we switched to the 4.5, was last year or last?
Year before, our claims
Well, and
appeared
there
to
was-
go very high at that
There was
point.
there was a large claim from about 5 years ago that we're still paying for, that hit all of our insurance. And so, that may have been about as good as we could do and be reasonable at all at that time.
How many students do we have enrolled right now?
A little under 8,000.
A little under 8,000, so basically looking at about $4 a student. Is that correct in my assumption?
The math, yeah.
Did you divide 8,000 divided by, I think that'd be about, yeah, that's right, about $4, a little over $4, I think $4 and a few cents. 8 into 32 is 4, plus 8 into,
Okay. Is there any,
You need to be quiet.
is there any other discussion from the board? If not, do I have a motion to approve the bid from Robertson Insurance from K and K Insurance for Plan 4 underwritten by Access Insurance in the amount of $172,296.20?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Okay, Karen, please call the roll.
Ms. Mumford Brain?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
no.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, motion passed. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion, thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion approval to renew lease for property located at 102 West Second Street in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Benzel, board members, Mr. Lackey. You all remember last year we moved day treatment downtown from what was in the old Christian County Middle School to the building downtown that's mentioned here. We do not have to re-sign a lease, it's just a renewal. We signed that last year, I believe it's a 5-year up to a 5-year agreement, so that would continue to be $1,500 a month plus utilities. So just asking that that we approve that renewal.
How many students did we have go to that place last year? 'Cause it looked kind of.
15, right?
Look,
Yeah,
How many?
Miss Stevens is with me tonight too.
15.
She's 15 there.
it didn't look like it was real busy.
We had quite a bit this year. But being a DJJ facility, Department of Juvenile Justice, they stayed longer in virtual learning than,
Okay.
and we did not have that
Right.
call to
That's
make.
right, when they basically followed.
It didn't come back
the
till
governor's-
March.
They followed the governor's recommendations completely on virtual learning, so that's part of the reason there wasn't as many kids there.
Is this an annual renewal, or is this a 1-year?
We'll do this each year, but I mean, don't we have a guarantee for 5, I think, at the same rate?
We don't
Need it.
have any vacant properties that would be suffice.
Not yet. We're working. So,
County Middle is, the
yeah,
old
it's just-
County Middle
The old
School.
county middle is not.
Yeah, it's almost gutted out. How close are we, Mr. Herndon? Half of it. And then we have plans for, in the next year, to put down. So as of right now, we have no other facility.
This is not a facility that we would merge onto a side of a school, or, you know,
Yeah.
this needs to be separate facility.
Well, all states has to be separate.
Right, yeah,
Mr. Hunt, was it cheaper to pay $1,500 a month than to keep
Oh,
the
yes.
building open?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I forget the total. We did the math on that last summer, and I think we were,
Utility bill.
yeah, it was,
small fraction.
yeah, it was a small fraction.
Well, the utilities run a month on that.
About 110,000 for the year.
Over here is 110.
Yeah.
What is our utilities on down there? 500 or 600 a month.
It wasn't even really close.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
And that's a good facility for us down there too, for, you know, not to go in a lot of details, but
Yeah,
for
it's
where they're located at, and the services that they need throughout the day from time to time to be available to those services. It's right there as well, so it's not a lot of transportation, a lot of far transportation for them.
Is there any other discussion from the board? Being none, do I have a motion to approve to renew the lease for property located at 102 West Second Street in Hopkinsville, Kentucky?
Motion. Second.
I have a motion second. Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Munfer Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, motion passed. Thank you. I guess you're still up. Next item, discussion, approval of district facilities plan hearing officers report.
Right, so I'm asking you all tonight to approve the hearing report from the district facilities public hearing that was held here. The public hearing, we went through our last time talking about the DFP. You all approved that the local planning committee had put forth. And our last step of that was to have a public hearing. It's not, and we had some phone calls about that. This is not a public forum about some of the issues that we're working through right now and consolidation and questions that came about with that. This was just a reading of the district facilities plan. So I was able to clarify that with a few phone calls that I received. So Mr. Galloway, who was our hearing officer, came, and you have a copy of the report. I won't read through it, but he basically read through shortened minutes of what all took place throughout the year and what the district facilities plan highlights. So that you have in front of you. So our next steps for that after your approval tonight, we are on track, as we had talked about many times, for this to, with your approval tonight, to be in Frankfurt, be sent to them tomorrow morning, sure by Monday, with the recording of that meeting. And look forward to the August state board meeting. They have a August 2nd and 3rd workshop retreat type meeting for August, and it will be approved one of those 2 days. And that will be set in stone then.
Now, the hearing was advertised in.
It was, yes. It was advertised in the New Era. I believe it ran on May the 11th. I had a copy of it in here.
Okay.
Yes, it was
And persons that were present did.
Wednesday,
have
May
the-
12th. It ran Wednesday.
They did have the opportunity to speak,
Mhm.
make whatever
Yeah.
comment, correct?
Yes. That was what it would be set up for comments to be made. Yeah. It's not a forum for
Right.
people to answer questions.
That's correct, yes.
So the revisions to the LPC was voted on unanimously by local planning committee 16-0, correct?
Yes, sir.
And public,
And this board has already approved.
and the
And
board
then-
voted 5-0, and public was offered an opportunity to,
There were, yes, at the public hearings that were held after those meetings. The LPC voted twice, to
Yes, sir.
clarify. The first one was a 19-0 vote, and the second, there were 16 members present, it was 16-0. That was done before your vote.
And this hearing report simply accompanies the facility plan and is included in the packet that the state board reviewed.
It's the final step, right, Mr.
Right,
Ladner?
it's the final step.
It's simply included in the packet that the state board reviewed.
is there any discussion from the board? Being none, do I have a motion to approve the district facility plan hearing officers report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion second. Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Munfer Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. The next discussion, approval of architect service for future high school facilities projects. Mr. Hunt.
All right, as you all remember, back in May, at the same evening that you all approved the DFP, we made the recommendation to advertise for an architect to help us through the project, to begin to work on that and develop comprehensive plan that you all can see and approve later on after that, what we just mentioned in the last vote. On May 20th, kind of take you through the process. On May 20th, we received 11 submissions of proposals from 11 different architects. We were very pleased with that. We reached out to architects all over the place that were Kentucky certified. So we reached out to those. We got back 11 proposals, and then notified the 6 that we wanted to interview. We went through those. I should take that back. We had 5 members. You guys appointed 2. Mr. Bell, Mr. Moore served on that committee, a 5-member committee. Mr. Benzel, myself, and Facilities Director Trevor Herndon served on that committee. So our first step was to take the 11 proposals and decide. We took them privately and looked at those proposals so that there was each individual's opinion, and we did a vote on that, narrowed it to 6. And of those 6, we invited them back for a interview in front of the committee, to where they would have hour and a half, however much time they needed to present. So we gave them a week after notifying them to be prepared, and we did that over the past 2 days here in the boardroom. It went very well. I would like to say publicly thank you to all 6 that came. They were all very well prepared. I think the committee did an excellent job narrowing down the 6 that we needed to hear from. It's a lot of work goes into that. I understand it's their jobs, but they were all very anxious to be here and did a good job presenting. With that being said, our group, we had a rubric that we used. Each one of us scored. We had about 11 categories based on everything from presentation to prior work with KDE, knowledge of the project we're working on, ability to complete on budgets based on prior jobs, being able to complete on time, and just several categories that you would normally use, references. So we each ranked each architect, how they fell 1 through 6 in each of those categories. After completing, that's yesterday, we finished that up, had some lengthy discussion, and I would like to, this evening, recommend to you JKS and the Hafer firm. They have partnered together, and they are here with us this evening. I'll let them be open to any questions that you have in just a minute. I'll let Mr. Sharp come up in just a minute and introduce that team that's here with him tonight. But I would like to say our recommendation, one, obviously they, in our rubric of scoring system, they received our highest score. Some of the reasons for us, I know in our discussions afterwards, just had to be with the presentation. In our opinion, was by far the best presentation. Not to take anything from the others, but it was well put together, well thought out. The team that they brought and have proposed to use on our project, if we go that route, is very much comprised of in-house folks, and then that with a mix of local businesses, local entities that can help out with the project. We like that. If we go this route in a project of this magnitude, being able to be in that office or in our office or on site in a moment's notice is very important to us. It's something we all talked about. We like that, and as well with the experience that was brought to the table with both of those firms. We also have been very adamant through this whole process. I hope that, and we understand that there are people out there that are not yet on board or understand what we've pledged for that to be our next few months' work, is to get that out there. We felt like in their presentation and the work that they brought to us, that all along through this process, we'll be able to keep the community informed with visuals, engaging the community and getting their input, and they seem to have the best plan to do that, not wait 3-4 months down the road and here's the product. It was something that we could show and adapt, and as teachers gave input, we could adapt the process as students, as parents, as community members. We could adopt or adapt that and include that in our rendering. So we were very impressed with that. And lastly, they were one of the few, if the only, to present a very detailed timeline to us that we could all understand and comprehend. Very, very detailed to what the board's roles would be, what the firms would be, what each entities that they're working with would be. So, again, I would like to recommend JKS Hafer, that firm, the combination of the two firms that are working together to be the group that we select as a board to continue to work with as we move forward. So, and I'm here for any questions you have. I know Keith is back here. He's sharp, is with us, and if you don't care, I'd like for him to come up and introduce the group if that's the wishes of the board. So.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Benzel, members of the board, it's again a pleasure to be before you. Brother Mike, good to see you. And most of you know who I am. I'm Keith Sharp. Mike, you know who I am. And Ms. Brame, we've never met, but I'd like to introduce myself to you now. I'm Keith Sharp, JKS Architecture. And I just can't begin to tell you how honored and pleased I am to again stand before you and to receive the confidence you've expressed to me. It's very meaningful, and how you've supported me for so many years. I'm thankful for that. With me tonight is my daughter Stephanie. She's the interior designer with the firm. I'm gonna jump over you guys for a second. Thomas Waldron with WBW Engineering and Rick Harper with Bell Engineering. Now I have two special guests with us tonight from Hafer, Ron Steinhardt and Jack Paper. Together, we are just tremendously excited to be a part of this process, and we just can't wait to see how great this whole product's going to be and working with you guys again. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion from the board about the architectural service for future high school facilities project? I just like to say, want to echo what Josh said. It was a lot of great ideals from different firms, but at the end of the day, there's no reservation that the firm that we picked and the combination of the past service that Mr. Sharp has done, as well as with what Schaefer has done and shown has done with cutting edge work for students in Kentucky, that combination is going to bring a great dividends to this community if we decide to go that way. So we appreciate that. Any other discussion from the board?
Where's our other group from? I'm sorry, Keith, I should have asked.
Evansville, I'm sorry.
Evansville? Okay.
Yeah, they have offices in Evansville and Owensboro.
Very familiar with Kentucky education, building codes and laws and regulations, and experienced those things in the past. Mr. Moore, you were on that committee.
Yeah, I will say that I was overly excited about their proposal and the way they presented it to us. They did an awesome job, and the timeline, specifically the way they had it printed out for us, where even I could understand it. You know, that's pretty tough. But just the professionalism that they brought forward, and it was just extremely, extremely good, in my opinion. I was overly pleased.
Okay. They didn't bring any barbecue, though, I don't think, did
They didn't, and that's okay.
Chocolate fountain either. Chocolate fountain.
That's right.
Mr. Bell brought barbecue, though. Hey,
Chocolate fountain.
Barbecue and burgoo, yes.
You know,
Okay.
and Mr. Lackey sat in on this also, along with Mr. Benzel, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Herndon. So it was, and Ms. Darnell was there also too, so it was they did a great job. They made a great presentation.
I got that report. I was at the Equity Forum, and two of the guys on the committee showed up and said they knocked it out of the park, so.
I have to agree with that.
All righty. Any other discussion? Being none, do I have a motion to approve the architect service from J.K. as architect and Hafer for future high school facilities project?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion second. Okay, Karen, please call the roll.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Mumford Brain?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, motion passed. Thank you, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is closed session for the purpose of proposed or pending litigation, KRS 61.8101C. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of proposed or pending litigation, KRS 61.8101-C?
Motion.
Second.
Karen, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Hunt,